Hey everyone, I'm just going to be playing Betty's newest video and going over it, going over her new shenanigans and all of her I don't know what to call it besides drama at this point.
There he is again. I'm not going to say anything about who I'm voting for or anything like that. Like I said, I don't want to upset anybody. But no, in all fairness, there's a yin and yang to our society. You know, there's the Democrats, the Republicans, the independents. I don't want anybody ever being ashamed of who they are.
All right, let me skip through this part here. Betty's just talking about how she's going to vote for Trump, and we all know that's what she was already doing.
It's them and their children kind of living under one roof because of all of the craziness. So, anyways, I just wanted to tell everybody, get out and vote. That's just kind of where I'm at. In believe it or not, it does. It only takes one voice to affect change. Went out there happened in April and May, and we went out to the location in June. So it was between April and May that we had one of the friends of a friend reach out to me and just explain that what her friend said. Her friend was a little shy or whatever, but they weren't really like friend, like, you know, obviously they weren't friends with Sebastian, but they enjoyed talking to him, especially about gaming. That was the one thing that he seemed to connect with a lot of people, was his gaming. And they said he just wasn't, he kind of isolated himself a couple days or so before, you know, like that Thursday and Friday, and then he went.
I've never heard anybody say that Sebastian was isolating himself in the days leading up to his disappearance. That's completely.
Got
The
it.
laugh.
Long story short, there was a lot of oddities that were happening throughout the weekend. We don't really know what truly happened on Saturday before he disappeared, but we do know they made a trip to Costco's, because that was the photo that people thought was a younger photo of him. It wasn't a younger photo. That was taken on February 24th, and it was the one that had like the cream colored or yellowish Optimum shirt or long sleeve sweater. I can't remember if it was a shirt or a sweatshirt or something like that. But that was taken on February 24th at Costco's. That's the only thing we know from the time he got off school on Friday. We know Thursday Seth spoke to him. He did not speak to him Friday. Sorry. He did not speak to him Friday. And
Betty, why are you always picking at yourself or rubbing your face, you know, picking at your hair? Stop it. You're on camera. Stop it.
And I'm not sure what happened Sunday. You know, Seth spoke to him. I can't remember. And then of course, or Saturday, and of course Sunday, he had a full day. We pretty much know a little bit about that day. And then of course Monday he was gone. So we don't have anything for Friday or Saturday, but what we do know is Sunday he went to several places. We don't know what time they wake up, but according to his mother, during the week they wake up around 6 a.m. Now, do they stay up late on Friday or Saturday night? I don't know. That was never discussed. It's never been put out there.
It was never discussed because it's none of your business what their personal schedule was
There in the public forum, and if it has, I haven't heard it. So I don't know what time they woke up on Sunday, but what we did hear, and again, this is all allegedly because we have our opinions about this case, whether, you know, mom or dad or stepdad or whatever your theories are. The people that are telling us these stories could potentially be a person of interest or suspect later down the road. So we have to put that into perspective, but we also have to put into perspective that at the time these statements were made, they were relaying a lot of information to.
Okay. For the 100th time, the police have been very, how should I phrase it? They're not suspects. The police don't even want to say that there's any criminal aspect to this case. So once again, this is just kind of spinning your narrative and your web.
Law enforcement. So I have to believe that law enforcement has some type of information, and they wouldn't have stated anything online or in the public that they haven't already provided to law enforcement. Just my opinion. I can't even confirm that, but what we learned for Sunday is that at some point in the morning, they woke up and breakfast was made. It sounds like there was a fun breakfast made. It was spaghetti, pancakes. Look it up.
It sounds like Katie was being an excellent mom. That's what it sounds like. She provided her son with everything and then some, and she was being a good mom, Betty. You don't have your own kids. You don't know what that's like, but that's typical. Giving your kids a exciting weekend is typical. It's not just out of the ordinary and crazy for a mom to take her kids and do fun things on the weekend.
Look it up on Google, y'all. That was a statement, I think, verbatim. And basically, it's like a funnel cake type of pancake, if you want to know what that is. Yeah, that's what I heard. I haven't seen them. I haven't made them. I don't personally know. Then we hear a short while later, around 11 a.m. So we know that this is still morning. So when was that breakfast made? I don't know. If I had to guesstimate, I would say anywhere between 8 and 10 a.m. Okay, just me personally. It could have been earlier. It could have been later, but we hear that around 11 a.m. there was a call. They left the house to go pick up a niece, and they ended up picking up the niece. It sounds like one thing that was missing is we have statements from another family member or friend named Dara. And this person we keep forgetting about, because honestly, when you look at the case, we were told in an interview, I believe,
every time she lies, she just starts looking over to the left, looking over her shoulder. Eyes go to the left, eyes go to the right. Stop it, Betty, stop it.
It was the Chronicles of Olivia interview that around 11 they had to go pick up the niece, and then they ended up going to BJ's and meeting family, her mother as well as other family members. But do you guys remember the statement from Dara? It was only one statement. We know who Dara is. We know that she's affiliated. We know that with the family. We know that this was early on and people acknowledged it but forgot about it. The statement Dara said was that she saw the mom and Sebastian and the cousin for a brief few moments that day. So how does that all fit in with this story? Because the way a statement comes from Aunt Melissa, it almost implies Aunt Melissa is the one that went and picked up the niece and brought them to BJ's. So this whole situation is a little odd for me, but we still have Dara's statement specifically stating that the mom, Sebastian, and a cousin briefly stopped by her home. When would that have been? So I just don't want people to forget that.
I'm sure law enforcement knows when that was. And once again, Betty, it's none of your business. You're not an investigator. It's none of your business.
So anyways, we have a niece being picked up somehow, some way, and we allegedly have Sebastian, his mom, and a cousin meet other family members, most likely, according to Aunt Melissa, Melissa and other family members. Who else was with them? I don't know. It was never alleged. I'm not going to guesstimate who was with them. I don't know. It didn't sound like it was Dara, but it sounded like it was other family. So could it have been other cousins? Could it have been, step grandma and grandpa? I don't know. I don't know.
Once again, none of our business. Has nothing to do with the time frame of Sebastian going missing.
They were there. It was stated that Sebastian got colossal popcorn, and there was a large popcorn and a colossal cookie, I believe. So I'm not sure if she just transposed those things, or he got a cookie, or what.
Betty, it doesn't matter. As a mom, I make up names for stuff all the time, and it's probably not the right term or the right phrase, but even younger kids, Sebastian might have been calling that popcorn a colossal popcorn since he was a kid, and you just stick with it. You don't change and correct kids if that's what they call it. That's just what they refer to it as, Betty. It's not. You're stuck on this goddamn colossal popcorn, and the stuff that they did. It's Katie being a good mom and having fun with her son. It's not Sebastian's last day out. It's not. It wasn't some nefarious Sunday.
I don't know. But they left BJ's. They stated that they had picked up some groceries or snacks. She said snacks in one interview with Chronicles of Olivia, and I believe we had to bring the groceries back in another interview. So was it snacks or groceries? We do know that they went to Costco's just the day before.
Snacks and groceries, it could be interchangeable, Betty. She could have bought snacks, and the snacks are part of the groceries. This is the petty stuff that, I don't know, you've been nitpicking these activities that just really, in my opinion, don't have much to do with Sebastian actually going missing.
Before, I have to imagine that some groceries were picked up at Costco's the day before on Saturday. So what groceries were there? We're just going to go with Chronicles of Olivia, that they brought snacks back and had to put them away. We don't know what time they returned to the house. We don't know what time they decided they were going to leave the house to go to the bowling alley. We don't know who accompanied them. From our understanding, it was just mom and son. They went to the bowling alley. Many people believe that they bowled. For some reason, I just didn't believe that they had bowled that day. And, because it came down to the shoes. Did they take the bowling shoes home? Blah, 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 blah. We found out he wasn't bowling. He was actually there for the games, which is what I kind of thought, when we were talking about it way back when. You'll have to go through the videos and find out.
That one. He's a 15 now. He's a 15. Bowling. Why would you think that he wasn't bowling, Betty?
You can fact check it if you'd like, but I remember saying I didn't think he bowled. He's a gamer, and a lot of these bowling alleys, that's the only place that they can really have a selection of different types of games, from pinball, to Pac-Man, to other games.
There are plenty of restaurants that offer arcade style games. It's not the only place.
Motorcycle games, they have the ones that vibrate when you're hitting a bump on the screen. It's kind of cool. So those are really, you can only find those at certain places, and mostly the only places you can find these video game rooms anymore this day and age is at a bowling alley. So it sounds like that's what he did. He played on games until he was done playing games, and then him and his mother went over to the Texas Roadhouse. We just listened to Silvers on the Scene and found out a few things that could different. Another video that I need to review.
don't trust a single thing that Silvers has to say. He has 2 flashlights and a shovel and a failed acting career. I mean, what? I don't expect much from him, except for spreading Betty's agenda.
What was in the
allegedly, in my opinion,
the original interview? What was originally stated? And we hear it all the time, but when we talk about these cases and we talk about what could have happened and trying to find nuggets of information, we already know. I think,
God, Betty, stop watching the TV and focus on what you're doing. Everyone can see your eyes are watching the TV. Be a little bit more professional. Start off by putting a good bra on, so you know the girls are up a little bit higher. Put on some appropriate clothing. You know, do your hair and some makeup for a live stream. You know, be presentable.
all of us around. Okay.
No, they're being deceptive or they're telling the truth. I mean, what other option do you have?
Personally believe a little mixture of both. I believe any good lie is based on a foundation of fact.
Well, yeah, you do like to lie, so I'm sure you know all about that.
My just thought I would let you guys know who Delilah's voting for as well. Just in case you didn't know, she's been wearing this for 2 days. She actually pulled it off the bed and had it out here, so I figured she wanted it, and so I put it on. If you guys don't know what it says, for those that don't like my politician, hold your ears. It says Trump girl. Thank you, Sonia. She is getting so.
Sonia, please. Oh my God. Please stop. Make Betty some damn pants and a bra. Stop making her t-shirts. Stop making her dog shirts. Make Betty a custom.
She is absolutely spoiled. And as you see, this is where she likes to be. If I move, she moves. If I stay, she stays.
That's where she likes to be because God, you do your live streams from your bed half the time. I'm sure she's used to laying down.
I keep trying to push her off and tell her to go play, but the only time she really wants to play is, what, you want under the covers now? Okay, get under the covers. She's a little camera shy today. All right, there you go. Get your other foot under there. There you go. Are you sure you want to be that far in? Okay, you're comfortable.
Even Betty has asked if the dog is sure if she wants to be under there. Are you sure you want to be under there? I wouldn't want to be under there.
She's a little camera shy. She's like, oh my gosh, she's got me on camera again. Let me go hide. She's gonna pop her head out. I don't see her putting her whole head under here. She never does. There she is.
Nope.
Breaking down the green shirt interview, and I remember something that Steve Johnson said on that discussion panel, and it was that we really need to go back. You know, he had already these are professional law enforcement, dealt with many homicides, many missing persons, does this for a living, very, you know, top of their career, top of their industry. And love Steve Johnson. I love, Chris McDonough. I love their passion. I love what they do. I love the organization that they created, and I love that they're always willing to help. That's
All right,
that's
let's
hands
skip a
down.
little
I
bit
love
because
that,
Betty
and
just
I'm
keeps
allowed
on,
to live
doing
my
Betty
life in the
things.
confines of those laws, which I do. I didn't always once do that.
What? Betty. Betty. Come on now. You don't live in the confines of.
This chapter of my life. So I know for a fact that what they're.
The chapter of your life where you weren't following the law was like, I mean, God, that was like yesterday. You're doing it right now. You're supposed to be pretending like this family doesn't exist. And that includes Sebastian. You're supposed to be living your life like the Proudfoots don't exist. And you just can't. Every single day, multiple times a day, your live streams are still about the Proudfoots and Sebastian. Come on.
What they're doing is wrong. But we are going to continue to have our opinion, commentary, and criticism on this very case, and toward the very people that were responsible
And that's
for
what's
this
getting
child
you in trouble.
and this child's well-being, that seem to be living their best life ever. Just saying. Never seen such relaxed, calm. And
because there's people like David who have been making her life a living hell, and she's doing a lot better job than I would be doing if I had to deal with you and my child was missing. Me and you would probably be sharing a jail cell eventually, because lady Betty, come on now, just stop it. Betty, stop it.
Without totally breaking down. But I digress. So we're going back. We've heard this before. We're going back. We're going to keep going back. We're going to keep going back until we find this child or somebody comes forward. There is a $175,000 reward. We just broke that on this channel.
There's not, though. Until you can show receipts that Dog and Nick have those funds secure and those funds are available for somebody who comes forward to give that information or who can lead them to Sebastian, those
there has information that has come in from Oregon as well as New York that the team, Seth's team as well as Dog's team, are really taking very.
Let me just point out, what would you say? What were you saying, Betty? Seth's team? There's a team? Oh, okay. I thought there wasn't any teams. I thought we didn't have sides. Just repeating what you said.
Seriously. And they want to know what is going on, and they are researching it and compiling the information and doing the search and the research that they need to do. We learned that. They have also several investigations. Let me just go through this real quick. And I'll read this in case you guys missed it last night. We are unable to confirm or deny specific regional details. However, at night remains committed to actively pursuing leads across multiple states, including Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Missouri, around the clock discovery of a individual with investigation by J. Daughtry at night. After reviewing a tip deemed credible and originating from Oregon, we have expedited our efforts to thoroughly investigate this lead. We have confirmed the presence of at least
I really don't trust anything that these people come up with, in my opinion.
2 individuals in Oregon connected to the investigation who will remain unnamed at this time. While we have yet to confirm whether Sebastian was part of this trip, our focus is on corroborating these findings and identifying any additional connections. Dog Nation, we have new leads from Oregon and New York, and we're moving.
Okay, everyone. So when she's saying what she just said, the Oregon tip, and there was 2 people and they went on this trip, that they're involved in this case.
Fast on them. We informants have provided valuable new information about those states. So because of those leads coming in from Oregon and New York, they have moved to raise the reward to $175,000. So just definitely want to give a shout out to all the people that have been working around the clock, and also remember Seth Rogers. He went to work one normal day, and when he got off, his world was flipped upside down. And that is what.
Betty, do you realize that everything that you've been saying so far in this stream, on this live that you're doing, is the same thing that you said in the stream that you did yesterday? Almost verbatim. Just saying.
Gravitated me to him, and it wasn't right away. It wasn't right away at all. It was through a lot of work, a lot of law enforcement keep him unclear, shackled, and
suspect. There's no foul play, so why would there be any suspects in this case? I mean, make it make sense. If the shit that you're gonna say, doesn't make sense, Betty, make it make sense. Because right now you're just spewing at the mouth again. Allegedly, in my opinion.
Make him feel as absolute horrible as they can possibly do while they protect 2 really bad people that have allegedly abused their child. At least.
Oh, what was that? What was that, Betty? You're still calling the people that you're supposed to not be talking about really bad people, defaming them online? All right.
At least multiple visits from CPS. That's all we know, right? We don't need to know.
Okay, sorry I keep pausing this. But Betty, Seth also had CPS reports on him. Don't just pick apart one side when Seth had CPS reports as well.
So much more, because normal families don't always get all these. How do you go and is up your craw?
That's not true.
California, I would presume, because that's where he was, R'd and SA'd. I don't know how all of that worked, but I know it was very highly upsetting for his father because, again, this is another.
Well, I'm sure it was very upsetting for Katie as well. Do not sit here and act like Sebastian's mother didn't give a damn about what was going on in Sebastian's life. Now that's going to piss me off. Those are real serious allegations. And for you to sit there and say that only Seth cared is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why you're in the position that you're in Sumner County.
It seems like everything terrible that happens to this young boy appears to happen on one parent's watch. Okay? At least that's the history that I'm seeing.
So if we go back and we ask the teachers, there won't be any teachers made a report on it. He was to Sebastian and being rough with Sebastian, and even smacked Sebastian in the side of the head with his fluid pocket. Okay.
From my viewpoint, do your own research, find your own factual information. But based upon everything I've researched, that's my finding. That most everything that bad that has happened to this young boy has happened on his mother's watch, not his father's. And that's a little.
I'm also going to say Seth barely had a watch. Seth just started having Sebastian recently. Sebastian's 15 years old. So the difference in time between Katie and Seth getting divorced and now, I mean, that's a number of years. And Seth just moved recently. So, when their child is missing. However, this narrative that Seth is a saint and he did nothing wrong, and he may not have done anything wrong or caused Sebastian to be missing, the disappearance now. However, he's not a saint. He made mistakes, and I'm sure Katie also made mistakes. But you're putting it out there that Katie is just this, horrible, terrible mother that lets her child get SA'd and she doesn't care about him, and there's CPS at her house all the time. And Seth is an angel saint father that, wears the cape, and, it's not, what you're doing isn't right. And then once again, this is why Sumner County has you in the position that they have you in.
Problematic. And the Department of Children and Family Services not his father.
Yeah, Betty.
It's very upsetting. So we're told that because we cover this case and don't want to lie to our audience and want to be truthful and know what direction, because we've looked down other avenues and we know what avenue we're being brought down because of factual leads. And we're told because we're following factual leads, that's a vendetta. That's a vendetta. So I don't know what is going on in this county. I don't know if they're collecting leads. I don't know if they're answering any tips.
You don't know, and they don't need to tell you. They're doing an investigation. They don't have to tell you not a goddamn thing. Sadly, when investigations are open, they don't even have to tell the parents a goddamn thing at all. So you're not entitled to this information. And sadly, you know, as much as victims
I don't know. We definitely know that there's been no search parties. We definitely know that there has been no.
They did do search parties. They did extensive search parties. They did foot searches, drone searches, air searches. You know, they had dive teams. They did extensive searches when Sebastian first went missing. How much more, you know, they even searched a freaking landfill, Betty. What are you talking about? They can't be out there 24/7 every single day for the past 8 months. But where's your searches? You know, you're so concerned about law enforcement putting on searches and doing, you know, foot searches and everything else. Why don't you put together something? You're quote unquote child advocate. You're working for quote unquote sus team. Why don't you arrange a search?
No public display of forensic testing. You want to know why?
Sorry.
My neighbor.
Please put your pants on before you answer that door.
Hola. Okay, let's do it 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Gives you time to. Your hair looks good. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'll think 9 o'clock. I'll give them a call. I'm on a live right now. I'll give them a call. Make sure it's ready. Thank you. Did you vote? Oh, that's right. You told me you voted last week. Okay, just checking.
Oh my God. Just don't harass your neighbor. Don't harass that man to go vote. If he voted, he voted. That's his prerogative, just like it's anybody else's prerogative. You don't have to, you know. Betty, none of your business. Mind your business, Betty.
Did you hear my security attack dog, my mean old, 8-foot attack dog? Oh, good gracious. So, yeah, I didn't get my car back.
Something happened. You pay for whatever time frame you get, whatever kind of results you get, that's what you get. You get what you pay for. Remember that. When Black Beauty doesn't come back, you know, beautiful again, just remember you paid $400 for that paint job.
I didn't realize the time. My neighbor told me he would be back home by 8:30. He was going up to get his hair cut.
Betty, you could benefit. God damn, that train is loud outside. Sorry if you guys can hear that. Betty, you need some Rogaine right there. Your hairline's getting a little bit thin on that side, and on the other side, there's, you know, some of that 5% women's Rogaine that could dollop will do you, Betty. Dollop will do you.
So Long story short, I decided we're going to be going back to the Duchess interview, and I want you guys. This was their first dry run. Now, again, I have a lot of problems with because
I don't know. Come on, computer.
We had a really good conversation today, and I appreciate you being willing to talk to me.
So she has had a prior conversation earlier that day with both mom and stepfather, okay? And now they're coming on their panel. They were willing to talk to her. This is the first known interview with either media or social, alternative media or mainstream media, okay? Boom! Mm-hmm. Tell me what happened the day that Sebastian went missing, but she has to fill in the blanks for everybody. She should not do that. Why? Because it could change what they were going to say. What happened the day Sebastian disappeared? Simple question.
He was having a good day. He had a great weekend. So do you want to walk us through what that looks like again for everybody?
You know, I usually don't agree with Betty, but I will say that in the interview kind of lead and conduct and doing suggestions and that type of interview. It should have just been, you know, just open-ended, less talking by the interviewer.
He did have a really good weekend, actually. When we come home from having supper that evening, he was playing. When he went to bed, when I told him to go to bed.
And I'm also going to add, Katie sounds pretty damn emotional to me, even though certain parties claim that, you know, Katie is just so emotionless and doesn't care and she never cried for her son. To me, this sounds like she's crying right here. She sounds pretty damn emotional talking about Sebastian, the last day that she had with Sebastian.
He said, "I love you, Mama," and he said, "I love you, puppies." A little later in the evening,
And you did tell me that
it's not.
It's okay.
Oh yeah, see, she sounds pretty emotional to me. Even though, you know, this one on the screen likes to claim that you know, Katie's never cried for her son.
Take your time.
Sebastian does not have a history of running. I mean, the young man doesn't go outside very much. I mean, everybody in the neighborhood.
We heard from several neighbors that they knew of Sebastian but never saw him. And if you speak to professionals, okay, you can go research it yourself. A child that doesn't run doesn't spontaneously wake up one day and decide to run. It doesn't work like that in autistic children. Okay, you understand that? That is right there is bizarre. Now, people may on the other.
You know what's also bizarre? That he was just diagnosed. I don't know if it's correct. Don't want to be insensitive when I say he does have other health conditions. And if he does, you know, whatever his conditions are, he seems like a very intelligent young man, and he's not low functioning like some people make him seem out to be. There's been videos released, Sebastian talking and doing his game show for his birthday and stuff like that, and Sebastian plays chess. There's many adults that cannot play chess, so he is very intelligent. That tells me that he has the capacity to make, you know, decisions, you know, cause and effect decisions. I don't. I don't want to say that, like, to be insensitive, or say because and those other health conditions are more rare. So some of those, from what I understand, some of his some of his personality traits and his behaviors can from that disability, and they might be mimicking kind of autism, and I'm not quite sure that I 100% align with the fact that he has autism. That's just my personal belief. But with saying that, he is going through puberty. He's a 15-year-old boy. Just because, you know, as a child, he may never have, you know, ran off. As a 15-year-old teenager, he very possibly could have got mad at something and ran off. He very possibly could have met somebody online and ran off. I know when I was, you know, I mean, God, when I was 13, I was running off. But when I was a child, I was very shy, and I wouldn't even talk to, you know, teenager. I was, you know, than I had when I was a young person. So just because he had, you know, this different, you know, he had different traits and stuff like that, doesn't necessarily mean that that's how he is going to be for the rest of his life. And we can't just say, oh, well, autism, you know. And even if he did have autism, everybody on the spectrum, it's a spectrum because it's all different. So just, you know, you can't say that his traits didn't align with it. I know I've worked with people in the past at different jobs who are on the spectrum that are, I would have never guessed that they were on the spectrum. But the only reason that I found out is because they told me. Very intelligent people. And from stories that they told me about themselves, you know, they live their lives are just they're typical people. So I just don't like this whole, well, he wasn't a runner and he just, you know, he couldn't have ran, because he could have. He could have.
I'm one that believes that. The truth than fiction. I honestly believe some of the fictional novels that we
And Betty, you're strange as well.
Come from a factual story, personally speaking, because again, a lot of untruth is based on what makes it so.
And you are a master of untruths, so you would know. I do trust you in that.
is because you can foresee things happening. So I do believe, truth is stranger than fiction. But when you talk to many, many, many professionals that deal with autistic children, one thing that they say about this is that is beyond odd. Okay? Do your own research.
I highly doubt that you've talked to many, 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 many people who are professionals that study autism. I don't believe that. So, Dr. Google doesn't count, Betty.
Um, 12 and 6. He vanished. Walked out of the house, the door was locked, and gone.
He didn't take a phone. None of his shoes are missing.
Now, you told me that night that, now, Chris, you were at work, you were out of town at work, so you were not even home.
Correct, ma'am.
And Mom.
So she's telling their story instead of asking the questions to have them tell their story. Again, I'm only saying this not to dog her, but just constructive criticism, because this is the very first interview that we could have pulled a lot of information out of them, and she would have been able herself to tell whether they're keeping their story straight from what they told her earlier and what they're saying live to everybody else, but she's filling in all the blanks for them. And that, when you're dealing with cases such as a missing person or a deceased person, that's not good. It's just not good.
And I agree. I typically don't agree with Betty, but I will agree with this. She
really of function day.
Oh my
and
God.
So seem to have missed anything. Say, well, there was something else. No, now we have another person stepping in, interjecting, and saying, let me make something crystal clear. It didn't quite go like that. That's what he's basically saying. Well, it didn't quite go like that.
Is that what he said, or that's just how you're taking it? Because you seem to take and twist and, like, dig and twist and turn and mold and sculpt. Like, that's your thing. You like to, like, concoct different things by, taking one thing and making it into something else.
Again, one more time. I'm going to shut up this time.
Midnight.
And nothing was unusual at that point. Everything seemed okay.
There's actually a piece of, so to make something very crystal clear, so that way there's transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening. We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified.
He
tired. She's been up all day doing things. She was tired. Didn't you say that Sebastian should have been exhausted from his day out? That was probably overstimulating for him. I'm sure it was exhausting, and it was overstimulating for Katie as well. That was a lot of stuff that they did. I mean, she got on the phone. She was talking to her husband. She was comfortable. She dozed off. That happens.
That does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense to you because you don't have a loving bone in your body, in my opinion. So you don't have, that loving relationship with anybody where you can just get on the phone and get comfortable and fall asleep with your partner. You just don't, you don't get it.
Be careful, because if you're in Sumner County and you say that, you might get arrested, okay? But I'm sitting here in Florida, going to be there, probably getting arrested. I'm just going to deal with what I got to deal with. But at the end of the day, that.
And I don't ever root for people getting arrested, but Betty, you actually breaking the rule once or twice. It's like you triple down on the damn thing. You continue to go at it, and then you start going at the judge. So I mean, if it happens and you go to jail, you go to jail. At this point, it's your fault.
Doesn't make sense. Raise your hand if you feel that is contradictory. How can you fall asleep at 10, which is what was stated to Duchess earlier that day, and then all of a sudden now there's a phone call, a significant phone call? How are you going to incorporate falling asleep while on the phone?
Easy. She dozed off. She was tired. She had a long day.
Interesting. I'm sure they've got something. Let's see what they have to say to try to make this all work. I don't know.
Transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening. We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified by all the police departments, TBI included. Did slightly start.
It's called dozing off. And as a tired mother, which you would know nothing about, but being a mother who's tired, I mean, hell, I doze off in the middle of the afternoon sometimes. So dozing off at 10 o'clock just doesn't seem that far-fetched to me.
Does anybody know how to slightly fall asleep? Can somebody explain that to me in the chat? How do you slightly fall asleep? I know there's got to be some hate channels in here or somebody from the other side.
Ooh, pick me. I'm telling you right now, it's because she was dozing off. So that's how you slightly fall asleep.
Then you're just saying, I can't believe her, right? Well, tell me, how do you slightly fall asleep?
I just did.
Never heard of slightly falling asleep before in my life. You either fall asleep or you don't. So, does anybody know how to slightly?
Even if somebody explained it to you, the issue with you is that you don't listen. So it really doesn't matter if somebody does it, if anybody explained to you how you slightly fall asleep or what she help, it might have been wording.
Waiting for yesterday. As a matter of fact, sitting here, I had been up since like 4:30 in the morning. Maybe it was 5:30 in the morning. I come out here, I'm working. I'm working on all this legal paperwork. By the way, it's almost done. Hallelujah.
That damn legal paperwork. You've been working on legal paperwork, I swear to God. Every single lie you say you're working on legal paperwork. Maybe if you had stopped getting in trouble with the law, stop breaking the law, and stop, getting yourself involved in frivolous lawsuits, then you wouldn't have to sit there and do, court paperwork. Because I've never seen somebody in my life, I've never seen somebody have to do so much court paperwork like you do.
Right? And so I come over here and Delilah.
And let me add, for all the court paperwork that you say you do, I was expecting actually a lot more out of you when you were in court in Sumner County. I was just expecting more than your printed off press pass. I thought you might have more exhibits and
leaned all in with her. Well, lo and behold, I don't know how long it was, but I'm like, did I fall asleep? Looking at the time, holy crap, I fell asleep. I didn't even know I dozed off.
Oh, what? Betty, what word did you just say right there? Oh, you dozed off? That's probably what Katie was doing when she was on the phone. Just saying. You answered your own question right there.
But I can tell you, it wasn't slightly dozed off. It was boom. I'm sleeping. Yeah, I've heard of that. That's an extension of it. What did Elser say? Hold on, let me go up here to Elser. Just resting my eyes. But how many times do you rest your eyes and only slightly fall asleep, though? I mean, when your body goes down, it goes down, okay? I don't know how to slightly fall asleep. If anybody, can somebody email me instructions on how to slightly fall asleep, okay? If you guys know how to do this slightly falling asleep thing, please send it over to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I'd like to understand this slightly.
Oh my God, you're just ignorant.
Was not home. Mom went to bed at midnight. Right, slightly before midnight and asleep at midnight. Those two things had to be driven home to us and have been every single one of the interviews. They stated that. However, throughout these interviews, everybody, and I don't know how many times people sent me hundreds, if not thousands of emails talking about the stepfather having information he could not have or possess unless he was physically there. It seemed like every time he spoke as a statement of fact that the mom should have been stating. Not him, because he wasn't there. How would he know? But he was coming from a place of knowledge, not secondhand information, in my opinion. Let's keep listening. We're going to wrap this up in about 10 minutes because
like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. You're one of those type of people, huh? Get your car painted, but it just doesn't work. Looks nice, but it doesn't run. At least when you're in jail, the shine on your car will still probably be there.
Because that's what we're supposed to do. That was one of the first interviews. That was the first interview that we as a public know about. Now, there were statements made prior to this, but the only way we're going to get those statements is going to the Miss Bobby interview. Now, the Miss Bobby interview, we're going to need to go over because I think it has a wealth of information, boots on the ground information that you're not going to get unless you are a community member of that community.
I'm just going to say this also. I don't put that much weight into the Bobby interview. I think it's not that. I'm just going to say it's
she does the one with.
Why do you have to say my ex? JLR. She did. Betty, be professional. She did an interview with JLR. Come on now. That was just the only reason why you said that was just to throw shade.
You could kind of hear Terry Lynn's disdain that she had been on that prior podcast, but I'm glad she was. Now, even the prior product, my ex, you know,
JLR. Not, God. I needed some receipts to show that that's, I mean, I don't think that was your ex. I think, you know, maybe Chili's had a couple late night specials, but that might have been it.
He worked with me because I was one that, like, my brain is always thinking, and sometimes when you're talking to somebody, as they're talking, you're thinking of something and it just blurts right out of your mouth, because I got a pop mouth. Not a pot mouth, a pop. P-O-P, pop mouth. That means when it comes in here, it pops out of here, okay? Sometimes there's no filter.
You should be in jail because you have a pop mouth that you can't control.
Right? There's no filter, which was what makes me so controversial at times, because when I think it, it pops out, right? If I'm thinking it, somebody else is thinking.
That's not what makes you controversial. When you double down on shit, it's one thing to say something like once and, you know, be, in my opinion, theoretical or, you know, whatever. But when you say something and it's wrong, and then you're told you're wrong, and then you double down and triple down and quadruple down on it, then that's what makes you, that's what makes people not like you.
Say it, okay? I'm not unique. So long story short is, he even interjected when the interviewee was in the middle of a statement. It drives me nuts. It's a pet peeve, and I'm not sure why it's such a pet peeve. Maybe it's because I used to do it so much it drove me nuts, and now that I'm a much better interviewer, when people do that, it drives me. It really is a pet peeve. But I have to try to check myself, because this is their channels, this is their way of doing things, and it is what it is, right? Whatever the heck they want to do.
What was that, Betty? It's their channel. They can do what they want on their channel, say what they want on their channel. Kind of goes opposite of what your lawsuits say. Just putting that out there.
Especially in situations like this was a huge deal. This was the very first interview. And even though you had prior conversations, you should have let them talk and then said, but when we were on the phone, you said this. Is that not true? You know, that's when you start bringing in those prior conversations that you have. You don't start out with the conversation you have and then ask them about it. You want them to reiterate what they spoke to. How do you forget that when you're talking to somebody? And be asleep at the same time. I'd like to.
All right, I think I'm gonna end it right here, because Betty's just talking about the same stuff she already talked about numerous times. So thanks for joining. You know, just going over Betty, another typical Betty stuff that some